You're watching Let the Quran Speak. Now we answer questions we've received from you, our viewers. If you have a question yourself, you can visit our website, www.quranspeaks.com. Okay, Brother Shabir, this is a question about Isaiah 9:6 and 7:14. And the questioner is asking about these verses that seem to prove the deity of Christ. What are your opinion on these verses?
Of course, my opinion will be a Muslim interpretation of the Bible, because we believe in Jesus as the messenger and prophet of God. And often we are asked by our friends, well, why don't you also accept him as God? And here are some verses which show that he was actually God. So if you believe in him, you should believe that he is God. So then naturally we need to have a proper response to these verses, an explanation and interpretation from the Muslim point of view. So here's what I would say. The book of Isaiah, in which these verses are written, is said to be delivered by the prophet Isaiah, who lived some 700 years before the prophet Jesus was born. Nevertheless, it is thought that these verses are projections about him. They are predictions about his coming and his birth and how great he will be. Well, Isaiah chapter 9 verse 6 says, to us a child is born, a son is given, and he will be called Mighty God, Prince of Peace, and the government will be on his shoulders. So often it is said, well, this is Jesus, and look, he's called Mighty God and Prince of Peace, and so on. And he's called Everlasting Father. But what we should point out is what Don Cupid pointed out in his book entitled The Jesus Debate. What he pointed out is that the governments at the time, the kings, were actually given divine titles, not to mean that the king himself is God, but that the king is ruling in the place of God. And so whatever could be said about God could be said about the king. This is how it was taught. And in this way, even the judges of Israel were referred to as God. Psalm, the 82nd Psalm, the 6th verse, actually says, ye are gods, referring to the judges. So much so that in the Gospel according to John, it is said that when some of Jesus' contemporaries took up stones to stone him because they thought he was making great claims about himself, he said, why are you trying to stone me? Haven't you read in the scriptures that God said to the judges, you are gods? This is mentioned in John chapter 10, verse 34. So it is clear then that even though this passage seems to afford lofty titles to this future coming one, it does not mean that this future coming one is God. Moreover, there is some doubt as to whether this future coming one could actually be Jesus, because the continuing passage says that he will rule on the throne of David. And everyone agrees that so far Jesus did not rule on the throne of David. It is expected that when he comes back he will rule, but he hasn't done it yet. So one still has to wait and see if that will happen. Isaiah chapter 7 verse 14 also does not really quite refer to Jesus. It speaks about a young woman giving birth at the time in the near future, because that was to be a sign to the king Ahaz that the two armies which are ready to attack him would actually be demolished before a child who is soon to be born will reach the age of discernment to differentiate between right and wrong. Yes, it says that that child will be called Emmanuel, which means God with us. But it is very common in the Hebrew language to use names which include the name of God. Even in Arabic, this is done as well. It doesn't mean that this individual is God. It's just that his name somehow includes the name of God. And his name is a reminder that God is with us, not that the child himself is actually God.
Thank you for your time, Dr. Shabir Ali.
You're welcome.
That's all the time we have. Visit our website, QuranSpeaks.com, and check out our YouTube channel at youtube.com/QuranSpeaks. For all of us here at Let the Quran Speak, thank you for watching. I'll see you next week.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.